Once again, you can tell spring is here. Free lawn mowers, says they sort of run. Looks like both of them are missing gas caps. Let's see what we got. So we got a 20-inch yard machine, 125cc Briggs & Stratton. This one's a Craftsman 140cc, also Briggs & Stratton. Both missing gas caps, and the yard machine is missing the air filter and air filter cover also. So they do not look like they've been taken care of, but we will see if we can get them running. Got some prices for the air filter cover and gas cap, and that'd be about $21 between the two. Does have oil, a little bit low, but there is some in it. Looking down in the tank, there is some gas, or there is some liquid, I should say, without a gas cap. That may be water. And looking at all the dirt on the inside of the air filter cover, you can tell they've been running this without a filter. So even if it runs, we'll take the carburetor off and clean that out. So let me prime it, give it a few pulls and see if it cranks up. If not, we'll spray some starting fluid in there and see what happens. Let's try starting fluid. I think we got us a good mower. Just needs the carburetor taken off and cleaned out. We're also going to take the gas tank off because looking down in there, look at all that trash. They have definitely been running this without a gas cap. So we got to get all that cleaned out. Let's disconnect the fuel line next. That's all we got. Let's move on to the carburetor. We can slide that off. One linkage up top we got to disconnect. So we just need to turn the carburetor to the side. One thing to point out when you take the carburetor off, see the O-ring down there? Don't lose track of that. And also this lock ring, that white ring right there, we want to get that off. We have to put these back on the carburetor. Now to get the fuel tank off, we are first going to have to take off this top piece that has the starter assembly on it. No screws holding it in, it just clips on. This is Purple Power degreaser. When I take this bowl off, there should be some gas in there. All right, it's moving a little bit. Whoa, baby. All right, it is clean inside the carburetor. At least the bowl is clean, which is probably an indication of the rest of the carburetor, and that's probably going to be clean as well. Let's get the float out, and this pin needs to snap out on either side, and the needle valve will be underneath. See it hanging right there underneath? Let's wipe that on the paper towel. Yeah, that's perfectly clean as well. So this carburetor is not dirty at all. So maybe they didn't run it for long without an air filter. This piece will pop out. And remember the alignment. See the little piece with the O-ring that goes to the outside. The main jet is right through that hole right there. Let me adjust this flashlight and I'll show you what I'm talking about. You want to make sure that it's clear right through that hole. That is perfectly clear. I'm going to shoot a little bit of carb spray in there just to be sure. You take a flathead screwdriver right at the base of that piece in the middle and pry up. This will pop out. And see that centerpiece, see the holes, and sometimes those get clogged up. So you can take a piece of wire and run that through just to make sure that everything's clear. You can run some wire through there as well. So to put it back together, slides right back on where it came from. And this can kind of be hard to do sometimes, so you'll need a little bit of pressure. And you can also clean where the needle valve sets right through there. So there's a passageway down at the bottom, there's a hole, so you want to make sure that is clean. And now putting it back together, the needle valve, see that slot right there? The needle valve hangs just like that. And the needle valve goes back into that hole. And this pin, which I need to slide over, pin snaps back in on either side. And now with this piece, remember the O-ring goes to the outside. And you snap it in just like that. And now to put the bowl back on, this rectangle goes directly over the main jet, like that. I want to check the gap between the ignition coil and the flywheel, and on this side, the far side, you can see that this card, which is about the thickness of a business card, it slides through with a little bit of resistance, but on this side, the card will not go between the ignition coil and the flywheel. So I want to loosen this side up, and actually I'm going to loosen both sides, even though this side doesn't need it. I want to make sure they're both the same. And those screws are 1/4 inch. The ignition coil is pulled away from the flywheel a little bit. I'm going to put that same card back in between. That's the width of the gap that I want between the ignition coil and the flywheel. And right now, these 3 pieces right here, those are magnetic. Those are magnets. I want to turn the flywheel so the magnets are in front of the ignition coil. We'll see the ignition coil be drawn in. See that pulled in? All right, it wasn't very obvious, but that side snapped in as well. So now I just want to tighten these down. And I want to pull that card out. And if you turn the flywheel as you're pulling the card out, that makes it easier. And now I know the gap between the ignition coil and the flywheel is the proper gap. I forgot about the spark plug. Let's clean that. Gap looks too narrow. Let me check that. The gap is too narrow. It should be right here where those fresh scratch marks are. That's 0.03 inches. So I'm going to bend it up a little bit, and that's good. It's tight right at 0.03 inches. One more thing that I checked underneath, and that is the blade, and it looks good. It's in good shape. It's on tight. I'm gonna put some silicone spray on the kill switch, on the cable, and now the fuel tank. These 2 tabs slide into those slots. Also some silicone on the pull cord assembly. And now on the carburetor, in this opening where the butterfly valve is, the O-ring goes in first, and then the snap ring. And that just snaps into place. Don't forget to put that back on the carburetor. So now the linkage goes back on top. So again, I have to turn the carburetor on its side, just like that. Now the fuel line. And now the carburetor back on the engine. Make sure that's pushed all the way on. Now this piece, making sure that the back slides into this breather hose. Probably gonna have to get your hand back here to hold that hose so it doesn't just push away. They are 9/32 and 5/16. And once this is tight, we can bring it outside, put some fuel in it, and see if it'll run. All right, hopefully this thing will start and run without needing to be primed. We'll see. This thing runs fine, just needed a good cleaning, needs a gas cap and air filter housing cover. About a week later, got the new parts. This mower right now at Home Depot, 20-inch yard machine, $283. And this one's only 3 years old, so this is like brand new.